Okay, so this is a sequel to my first video that I made on vaccination. It's like many people are having strong allergic reactions. They're cold, the cold has got worsened. They're having fever, recurrent fever, and their condition when it comes to flu and all has actually worsened than before. Now, if the vaccine will work only for this SARS-CoV-2 or this flu induced by corona, then how come the other flus caused by other viruses are getting so aggravated? It clearly indicates the dropping down of natural immunity. Even body knows the immunity is being forced by vaccination. It resists it. Such a fight body goes through generates oxidative stress, ROS species, and increased levels of CRP. There are high chances it creates thereby a ground for the occurrence of autoimmune diseases. Now, do you need injections that keep boosting your antibodies, that keep pressurizing your natural immunity working? Do you even want your immunity to be fostered by chemicals when you're already consuming so many chemicals 24 into 7 night and day? DNA, mRNA, don't you know that they are genetic, that is they are genetic material, and that to synthesize that has been that is getting inoculated, that is being inoculated in your bodies? Do you know how much money the multinational companies and the pharmaceutical industries make out of one administration of a vaccine dose? Do you even want your immunity to be compromised over and over again by the disease and then by the vaccine? And don't you know that you don't require L-histidine, this histidine complexes in like large amounts? You don't need as an adult, you definitely don't need when you don't have the disease. These vaccines would definitely work if the disease has actually captured you, but not at all. And instead, not at all if you're not suffering from any disease. Instead, it will put your body under deep oxidative stress. And don't you know that without transcription, there can't be translation? So claims that genes this mRNA vaccine won't alter the DNA is sheer fake. Please get a hang here. Get a hang here, please. Then don't you know that if you compare it with polio vaccine, then the polio virus takes a large amount of time to get mutated. It's not that rapidly mutating as coronavirus, as SARS-CoV-2. Now, when there's already been a flood of antibodies through vaccination, and if you get infected, then the monoclonal bodies are still being given as treatment. I have already pointed out earlier. And how can you be so sure that antibodies in your body created by these vaccines will 100% come into action the time virus enters? One of the families of coronavirus causes common cold, and but then why this vaccine doesn't have a journal implication? And when it has lipid nanoparticles, then I think it should be quite journalized. It should also try to curb down the symptoms caused by the flu the other mutant of coronavirus is causing, not this one, not the SARS-CoV-2 that we are talking about. And the vaccine must respond to that family of coronavirus also, and shouldn't encourage should not encourage a single symptom at all. Symptom must not take place. It's not the question of whether the person will die, will be saved, or at least the person won't die. No, it's not like that. It's about like the symptoms must not occur. That is where we would see that the vaccines are actually working and they're effective, but they're helpless. It's you who are uh, energizing these vaccines with your emotions. and lack of knowledge. Now, what if you never catch this particular variant or virus? Then what will happen to the overload of antibodies? The antibodies already circulating in your system. Do you have any vigilance team inside? Antibodies are that are created this way are definitely recognized as foreign elements because that's not the normal course of developing antibodies. That is induction. The best bet would always be wearing masks and using sanitizers. Wearing mask over another mask is actually not the solution, but if you use a 3-ply mask or a 4-ply mask, that too placed properly is sufficient enough to ward off the virus. How can you be so sure that the virus is going to get killed or trapped when every second it's mutating? Once a mutant can be lethal, once it won't be. There's always a lag period. Okay. How can the vaccine alienate the virus from its basic nature of affecting lungs, as in causing inflammation of lungs? In severe cases, fibrosis, but inflammation. I think for a pandemic that lasts for few years, you are taking lifelong chemicals in your body. Makes no sense. I've seen many people who were vaccinated, contracted the virus, died due to drug interference. Now, some people who initially took Pfizer, Moderna vaccine, and then they took the second dose of Covishield. Don't you know that if you're bombarding yourself with different chemical complexes, your body is ought to show disastrous reactions? Maybe if not now, but passively, silently, indefinitely. It's the benefit of doubt. It's the benefit of uh, panic that has raged in the hearts of millions regarding this corona pandemic that is being cashed in the form of these vaccines. And always remember that disease manifests itself in the form of symptoms, either early or late. So please exercise your mind before you go for vaccination. And also that it's your complete choice you want to go for vaccination and all. There is no such thing as you are being patriotic if you are taking vaccine, or you are being anti-patriotic, or you're being anti-nationalist if you are not taking vaccine. No, it's about saving the humankind. That you have to save yourself from pandemic. Also, you have to keep yourself healthy at the same time. And vaccination is not the solution. Solution is your astuteness. Solution is using masks. Solution is using your mind. Solution is using sanitizers time and again. Be conscious that what surfaces you have touched and everything. And I assure you that the virus is going to lose its lethality within this year or so. No matter what WHO claims or something, the virus is not going to be that detrimental as it was in the initial stages. It's but natural. It's common sense, plain common sense. You don't need to have degrees, PhDs, and all to understand this meager concept. Also, don't you know that mode of spread of, because people normally compare it with polio virus, that polio was eradicated through vaccines. Let me tell you that, don't you know that the mode of spread of polio virus was through contaminated food, water, and if you touch these contaminated surfaces and put your hand in the mouth, then it became the reason for the disease, polio disease. And it normally has the symptoms like that of flu, but in the severe cases it causes this paralysis, meningitis, and paresthesia. And this I think it was the mode of transmission through air was very rare, through sneezing and all. So I think this clears the difference between the coronavirus that causes cytokine storming, that actually has this craze for the lungs, weakening the lungs, not uh, destroying the lungs, but I'm saying affecting the lungs. There are different stages of affecting the lungs. So I think this clears the whole difference why the vaccine for polio has worked and will not work for corona. Also, you must understand that with polio, the dead and beacon disease virus, the germs were inoculated. But here in this case, you cannot weaken the this aggravated, this wild virus. You cannot weaken it. Also, I believe that, as I've already pointed earlier, that masks and social distancing will be better over vaccination, and lack of insight of its intrinsic nature, uh, this vaccine loses its all potential role. And there is so much of positives and negatives that are available on the internet, and it's like where you want to put yourself out. And it's like, I'm not at all, once again I'm saying, I'm not at all criticizing vaccination, but I'm asking you, I'm imploring upon you to kindly take a meticulous approach before you get vaccinated, become an experimental animal, and affect your life for all times to come. Thank you so much for bearing with me, giving me time.